Welcome on, people. It's Mr. back again with another show. And as everyone is aware, Nottingham Forest have signed former defender Steve Cook from Bournemouth. If you are new to the channel, please do hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. And I've got some special people in. And as everyone knows, I've got the usual Des Daly from Do Daily. How you doing?
I'm good, mate. Thank you. All good.
So yeah, this is, if no one knows, this is Des. He's also his own Do Daily YouTube channel as well. He's linked below. If people get into 200, he needs 200, don't you, Des?
I need 200, you know.
get into 200 people. His link is below, so make sure you do subscribe to his channel. And as well, after this, so as well, I don't know if people are aware, like I said, Steve Cook is come from Bournemouth. I don't know if people know Craig. He's been on my channel before from the Forest and Bournemouth preview. So Craig, how you doing?
Disappointed you've stolen Cookie off us, but absolutely gutted, mate. But yeah, good to speak to you guys again. A pleasure as always, Mr. Dore.
Yeah, so as well, he's got another YouTube channel as well. Before we do start with Steve Cook, Craig, talk about your channel.
So my channel is called UTC IAD, stands for Up the Cherries in All Departments. It's quite good. I've come on to your channel for this one because back in November I got to interview your new player. So at that time he'd played 20. Well, he hadn't played for 20 games. He was injured during the first leg against Brentford, and was pretty much frozen out by Scott Parker. A lot of Bournemouth fans, myself included, were completely disillusioned why that was. So we welcomed him on. He agreed. Went through all his career, but there was certain points as well where you thought, well, is something happening in the background? And you know, I'm gutted that he's gone. He's a great player in the community to have. He's a squad player. He keeps everybody together. He's a great defender. I don't know if any of you guys saw the game against Fulham recently.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Yeah,
we'll get to that. But lots of people, we'll talk about Steve Cook. But first, I know what as well. Like I said, Craig just said he did an interview with Steve Cook. If people should watch it, the link is below after the show. Go and watch it because it is a fantastic show. We'll start with you, Des. As you know, that Steve Cook is signed for Forest, and we always talk about players coming in and coming out, and he's finally arrived. How you feeling, Des, about Steve Cook coming in?
Well, it's a really positive move, isn't it? You know, it's somebody who Bournemouth think a lot of. You know, to be honest, whilst on paper he's a really, really good signing, when you watch teams like Bournemouth as a Forest fan, he's not the name that sort of strikes out to you. It's not someone you particularly keep an eye on, but seen enough through when Bournemouth was in the Premier League that he can hold his own. He's played a lot of games. I checked out his stats. He seemed to play almost every game for Bournemouth in the Premier League. He chips in with a goal. You know, he's got experience. One thing we might be lacking, depending on the sort of movement of certain players within the back three. So he's going to bring a lot of experience. Hopefully, he brings a lot of quality as well. I'm sure Craig will tell us a lot more about that. But from what I've seen, you know, and the way the clips we've seen, there's some good ones on there of him throwing his body things, and that's the sort of defender we need. You know, if he plays, everybody's sort of mouths watering at the prospect of him playing in between Joe Worrell and Scott McKenna, who were like a rock for us anyway. I feel we're pretty strong at the back. If we're adding a bit more to that, you know, that just gives us another sort of injection of confidence, I guess, you know, of keeping even more clean sheets under Cooper. It's something we do, and we nick games. So yeah, really excited to see what he does for us.
So I think Craig is a Bournemouth fan, and he's going to talk about Steve Cook's career at Bournemouth. So Craig, like, what kind of player are Forest getting?
You've got a player that gives 110% every single game. He will throw himself on the line, like in that Fulham game.
Yeah, everyone's seen that. Everyone's seen that.
It's an and just to think that his career at Bournemouth. He probably knew he was leaving the club at that point. So for him to actually do that still, for a club that he was leaving, is, outstanding. You've got players that have played for Bournemouth in the past, like Ryan Fraser, who didn't really want to play, who didn't play, I should say, after Project Restart. Cookie went out there and gave 110%, despite the writing pretty much being on the wall, as it seemed. But Cookie started, he was signed by Lee Bradbury when we was in League One, and really did make his mark in that division. He was dropped by Paul Groves, but Groves didn't last very long in the hot seat. And when Eddie come in, I think it was Scunthorpe was a game. That's going back some time, but it was a game against Scunthorpe. After that, he was ever present. And to be fair, since that, I think, a stat come out the other day, or a little bit earlier on as well, I think it come out as well, that he's missed 21 games.
Wow.
In a period of time in the Premier League as well. And this season, he missed 20, from the start. So it was, I think the writing was on the wall. I don't think Scott Parker fancied him as player, which is a real shame, because I think he brings a lot more to our side than, Chris Metham is a really nice guy. I think he does give 110%, but I don't think he's the finished article like Cookie is. So what you are getting is somebody who is a leader, both on and off the pitch. If anybody gets to have a watch of the channel, have a flick through some of the other videos as well. And one of the videos is for Uganda Cherries. So what he's done for them is outstanding. He's got loads of kit over to Uganda, supported the children, donated loads of money as well. He didn't have to. He unites the club. So what you're getting is not just a special player, but a special person.
Des, like Craig's talking about, like he's a leader, and as you know, Des, you've got Joe Worrell, got Graben, and I've seen a comment on here as well, like give Cook the armband straight away. Would you give Cook the armband straight away?
I see the point there. Not necessarily just because he's walking into a new football club. Does he need it? Does Joe Worrell need it? That these players sort of set the example, don't they? From what they do, and as Craig says, they're on and off the pitch. Forest have got a song about that, haven't they? So
that's a new chance, Forest fans.
So on and off the pitch, they kind of set the example. That they lead from the front with what they say and what they do. The way they apply themselves on the pitch. So not necessarily. We kind of wonder why Joe Worrell isn't the captain already. But if you put Cook in the middle of the two we mentioned already, you've got three natural leaders there in my book. McKenna, Cook, and Worrell. Probably more natural than Lewis Gladman, but that's just the way it's been. Circumstances over the last few years have dictated that Gladman's the captain. So not necessarily, because I think it's that old adage, isn't it? England back in Euro '96, they talk about captains all over the field. When they had Pearce and Adams and Shearer and Seaman and all those, and you've got hopefully at Forest, we've got the same kind of thing happening. One thing I will say about the signings, I've said it on DoreOnTour. I've been looking for Forest to go into the lower leagues a little bit and get some English players. But when it comes to defence and these kind of positions, it's nice to see a transparent signing like this one. Somebody we know a bit about, somebody who's proven in the Championship. How many times have we had our fingers burnt with a foreign centre-back? We barely know. We've got one in reserve that allegedly cost £5 million at 19. So it's great to see this kind of signing. I think back, and you'll remember this, Dore, a bit more than the younger fans, to the likes of Colin Calderwood when he was a player. Brilliant. And Clint Hill, he came in for and he did a really good job. And again, players who you knew of but weren't quite sure whether they was like a horse for a course at their club, But hopefully, Cook's going to come in. He's going to have that same sort of quality, especially with the leadership, and make the players around him even better. That's a thing, isn't it? We've been talking about Worrell, how he's improved under Steve Cooper, and the likes of Ryan Yates, he seems to be working well with Jack Colback, because Cooper's forming these partnerships. I'm hoping that Cook's going to come in and he's going to pass on even more experience. Every so often, McKenna and Worrell get caught in the wrong position.
Yeah.
Normally, we've got enough cover, but talking to them, Craig will tell us again, if he's a talker, we can just talk them into the right position. I played centre back when I was younger. There's a lot of talking, and if people are telling you what to do and where to be, it improves your game massively.
People are saying that there's 75 people in. If you've got any questions for Craig regarding our new signing Cook, put in the comments below. Like I said, people, if you are new to the channel, please do hit the like button, subscribe if you know. Craig, what's the weaknesses that Steve Cook got? Like I said, he's been there, done that, and got the t-shirt. He started with you from League One. Is it League One, League Two? Then got his Premiership.
League One.
Right.
Yeah.
League One, and there's always going to be some weaknesses. But is there any weaknesses that Steve Cook has at first?
To be honest, he doesn't make a great deal of mistakes. There has been the odd time when he's done a silly thing. Say, for example, that game against Norwich. He just dived back and just caught it and just chipped it out. It's great signing, great save, I should say. Absolutely great save. But he's not a goalkeeper. But I don't think, for the level of player that he is, I don't think there's that many weaknesses. He's always aware of his position. He's always aware of what's around him. It was a formidable partnership that he built up with Nathan Ake at the back. And that says something, because Ake is a great player. They knew exactly where each other were. As did Simon Francis and Adam Smith. That defence was very, very good. And the good thing is they're very good at counter-attacking as well. I can't really think of many, big weaknesses at all. I think there's been a couple of games where he has been a bit shaky, but you get that with all defenders.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
What's he like for pace?
I would say he's got a bit slower, but he's got a decent amount of pace. He's not, he's not the quickest player out there. However, because of his positioning, how he knows that he's in the right position, what's around him, that really makes up for it, to be fair. So what you are getting is somebody who is a seasoned professional, somebody who knows exactly what he's doing in that defence. And like I say, I think it's a shame he's actually left the club. I'm not really sure why Scott Parker has gone in this. The only thing I could probably put my finger on is maybe wages. Maybe he's costing too much for Bournemouth. And maybe in that sense, Scott Parker wants to bring through a couple of youngsters. But we're on the verge of, or if we haven't already, signed Led from Manchester United. So it's already gone through.
Yeah.
So
it's gone through. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's weird, because I think personally he is a loan signing. He'll go back to Manchester United at the end of the season. There is talk that we might get him on loan next season as well. But the thing is he's not our player. That's what's weird about it, and it's a real shame. It's a real shame, because Cookie's a great player. He's loved at this club, and I think he'll be outstanding for Forest.
There's a question for you, Craig. Craig, would you say Bournemouth have seen the best out of Cork? Can you see him improving?
I don't think he'll improve any more than he has at the moment. I think he's probably reached his peak, but his peak is still very, very good. So there was talk of at one point of him getting into the England side. You know, why did Gareth Southgate not look at him? But I think when you look at the options for England, you know, he's probably just behind that pecking order. It's always going to be very, very difficult. However, I think he's probably reached his peak, but I think he'll still be an outstanding signing for Forest. I think he's still got, you know, a good 2-3 years at that level. You know, if not longer. He keeps himself in good shape. You know, I've seen a lot of Cookie both inside and outside of the club. He keeps himself in outstanding shape. He's very, very fit professional athlete. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's at that level until he's 35.
Forest fans, is there any questions for Craig? Like I said,
I've got one goal.
Go on, Des. Ask away.
So basically, Forest either play a 4 or 5. So, well, 2 or 3 at the back as centre back. Does it fit into both systems? Because it looks like.
I'd rather ask you the same thing, Des, about if he can play a 4 as well. I'd rather ask you that as well, Des.
I think he has to play in the centre of defence. There has been times when he's played, I believe from memory, on the right-hand side. Didn't go particularly that well. However, he's outstanding in the centre. So I think he probably could play both setups, but it's just how Steve Cooper's actually going to utilise him. And who he's going to be who he's going to be alongside. Throw that question into you. Who do you reckon he's going to play alongside at Forest?
It's a tough one, isn't it, Des? Because like I said,
we tend to think he might play in the middle of a 3. That's the kind of that's what's got every Forest fan excited with the side. We think ultimately, like I touched on earlier in the show, that we're not quite sure the movements of one or two of the others, which is going to dictate a lot, I guess. But what we're hoping for, fingers crossed, is he plays in the middle of 2 real big, powerful centre backs, almost like, not exactly that, but almost like a sweeper.
But if Forest do play a 4-4-2, Des, or 4-2-3-1, and if you play 4 at the back, who would you like if Cook does play? Who would you put alongside, Wall or McKenna? And people in the comments, who would you do that? Because we'll, like Forest fans on social media, we're talking about if it's free at the back, we'll put Cook there. But if we did play 4-3-2-1, who would you put? Like Des, who would you put him if we did play 4-4-2 or 4-2-3-1?
Well, before I get to the crux of that, Ben, I'm not convinced, and I don't know anything, as you know. I'm not too convinced that Worrell will stay now. You know, the way they're looking at centre backs, I think Worrell might be on his way. We've obviously signed Cook, and we're looking at the guy from Hearts, the younger guy. You know, and we've got a couple of options already. Of course, Figueiredo might move on because his contract's up in the summer, so he can sign. And we know he was treated a little badly last year. So in a 4, I really don't know. I'd have to see Cook first, because at the moment in a 4, I can't see beyond Worrell and McKenna. You know, because they're outstanding, and Cooper's brought the best out of Worrell. He's made him a much more dynamic player. So as a 4, I'd leave him as a sub, you know, to work his way into the team. But like I say, that really depends on who's moving. I can see Figueiredo signing a pre-contract. He wanted to go home a year or 2 ago. And then, like I say, with the fact that we're looking at several centre-backs, is the guy Redding as well? Or is that
Holmes.
He's a midfielder though, isn't he?
No, he's a centre back.
No, he isn't.
I thought he was a right back. But he's a centre back.
So yeah, he's a centre back. I was right initially. So again, we're looking at all these options. It suggests that there's going to be a bit of a reshuffle in there at some point, whether it's now or the end of the season. So you could almost, what we'd kind of hope is that Cook comes in and plays in the middle of the two, gets us promoted, and then we can keep everybody happy, Yeah. But if it doesn't work till the end of this, if it doesn't work out in terms of promotion and playoffs, that kind of thing, and Worrell does still want his chance, like he's let us know, it could be a case that he plays in a 4, and we revert to a slightly different formation than we've had for most of the season.
Just very quickly, actually, on Holmes as well. I did watch the Reading Derby game yesterday.
Yeah, I watched it as well. It was
yeah, well, that first goal for Derby, when Kazim Richards made that header, I just don't think Holmes made any attempt to really get, make a challenge really on that ball. So I don't know if that would be the right signing. I think maybe he's one for the future if you do manage to sign him, but I do question whether or not he'll get up to the level that Cookie is.
What do people think? Do you think Holmes is the right person? Like we're talking about Joe Worrell leaving Nottingham Forest, Cook as well, experienced player for Nottingham Forest as well, people. There's 85 people in here. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you everyone for watching. As well, hit the subscribe button, people. I think we got 25 likes. Hit the subscribe button. Craig, like I said, we talk about it. How long has he been there? Cook. He's been there for like 10
He's
years
10
now?
years. Yeah, 10 years. It was actually mentioned on the AFC Bournemouth website as well. They are looking at giving him a testimonial, which is no less than what he deserves as well for what he's done for the club. He was part of that team that got us promoted to the Premier League. In fact, it was quite funny in my interview with Cookie, and something that I never picked up at the time, but I asked him and I said, considering where we are, do you feel that we're in the position to actually have those celebrations again come May? And he said, well, he doesn't think he'll be there to do that. He didn't think he'd see it. So I think there was something at that point probably going on. You'll have to watch it for the exact wording. That's probably a bit of a...
As well, people, I said... What did I say? Craig interviewed Steve Cook as well. So people, after the show, if you want to watch it, the link is below. So please go and watch it. I've seen a few bits, but I will watch it after the show. Like I said, I just mentioned Craig. Like, what's your best memory? I know, like you got promoted to Premiership, but like, what's your best memory with Steve Cook at Bournemouth?
It has to be the 4-3 Liverpool game where he was instrumental in that. He also scored. Also up at Newcastle, he made a fantastic header. It was literally in the last minute. Another outstanding performance. There's so many to take from. Of course, that Bolton game, every player on the pitch was outstanding that game, where we eventually won promotion. He was outstanding at Charlton the following week, where we won the title. There was a game against Ipswich as well that season. Again, played out of his skin, scored. There's so many. There's so many that we can, reflect on, and I don't think I can really pinpoint it down to one particular moment. I think I probably could amalgamate things into one. And when he's had a difficult time, like he has recently, missing all those games, he's missed more games this season than he has done, in 6-7 years. That goes to say something. He bounces back, and he did well against Coventry, and he did fantastically against Fulham, and that shows the caliber. So even if he doesn't start for Forest straight away, I'm guessing he is eligible to play against Arsenal.
He should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should be. Yep.
If he doesn't get picked for that game, he won't drop his head. He'll keep fighting to get into the team, and that's the sort of player that you want around. Somebody who can put the pressure on Worrell McKenna as well. If he can't straight away get into the side, A, it will make them better players, but B, you'll have a player waiting in the wings that will really help Forest. And we of course played you at the start of the season.
Oh, don't talk about that. Don't talk about that, Chris. Don't talk about that game.
But it goes to show where Forest are now. Yeah. What good job Steve Cooper has done, and I personally think this signing is it's outstanding for you. I think he'll be a real asset.
Take your question, Des.
Yeah, so on that point you made there about where Forest were and where they are now, we were led to believe 3 or 4 days ago that we were going to get picked by QPR for Cook, and until the last few days it looked like he were going there. All the rumours suggested that we weren't going to get him. So from sort of a Bournemouth point of view, your point of view, and what you might have heard or not heard, why do you think he's gone for Forest? What is the appeal? Of course, he's a southern boy as well. It's something I looked at where we were born. We were born on the south coast, and London's always an appeal. And QPR are in the playoffs. So what is it? What's the reasons you think he's actually decided to come up to Forest and give it a crack with us over QPR?
I think there's only one man, and that's got to be Steve Cooper. What he's done at Forest. Also, you look at the two clubs. Forest overall are, no disrespect to QPR, but are a bigger caliber of football club. Historically. So there is that sense of things as well. Personally, it's a good challenge for him, and being part of Cooper's plans, from the start. There was rumours that he might go to Newcastle. There was that rumour being bounded about because he was I think he was ever present, apart from, when he had suspensions and injuries under Eddie Howe.
He started following me on Twitter, didn't he? Steve Cook, Steve Cook. On social media, because I think he followed Newcastle. I thought, and there was little rumours that
he did, yeah.
Yeah, so there was little rumours that he was going to Newcastle, but he chose the right club. Forest, isn't it? But
I think with Newcastle, if he had gone there, he probably would have been a short-term fix. And I think he would have done a good job. I think he would have done a good job at Newcastle this season. However, he could have been in the boat where he's been with Bournemouth. And you know what? I don't think he should have been in that boat with us. I think he should have been playing. He was very unfortunate. I think it probably stemmed over from the injuries. We had a fantastic start. We had Ibsen Rossi, who was playing. He really shone. We've had Zamora. So there's some great talents that have come through.
Bob as well, legend.
Yeah.
One of the things why I think he chose Forest is, there's two. Perhaps the length of contract, 2.5 years, when there was talking more of a short term or a loan deal. So 2.5 years is quite a long time in football these days, as we all know. But perhaps, again, I'm only speculating, but the movement of the players is there, without being a guaranteed first pick, because I'm sure Steve Cooper's not that silly. There's almost some sort of, you are going to be a major part of the plans. We'll give you a 2.5 year deal, and they've shown a lot of faith in him. And of course, Steve Cooper's assistant is Alan Tate, who was one of these big, bulky, stopper type defenders who's going to know a good defender. He's going to have an eye for a defender. So again, I just think they've shown a lot of faith in him, and perhaps that's why he's shown faith in choosing us over QPR.
To be honest, I think he would have been a big player for QPR as well. I think, he would have got, certainly got game time there. I think it's being part of the project. He can probably see what Steve Cooper's doing, and the way he's trying to improve Forest and what he's already done so far. Chris Hughton, is a lovely man, and we even said, it would be such a shame, if it was all to end in tears. It did end in tears, but at the same time, if he's not up to the job, then you've got to make that change. And Steve Cooper's come in there and has transformed the club. And Steve Cook's probably looked at that and thought, well, this club's going somewhere. If you take out that poor form at the start, Forest, to get themselves in the position where they are now, have probably been on playoff form, considering the start.
Yeah, 100%. Right. We spoke about loads about Cook. And there's another player that we'll talk about. He played for Bouenrmouth as well, and Craig will know him really well. And Des knows who we're going to talk about, don't you, Des? Des knows who we're going to talk about. Because today it was as we know that Harry Arter is back at Nottingham Forest. And I'm going to start with you, Des, because this is a tricky, because I've been on social media, and it's been like 50-50. And me, right, I'll talk Des first, but people in the comments, what do you think of Harry Arter? I'll get Craig's opinion about it as well. But people in the comments, what do you think of Harry Arter coming back to Forest? Do you think he should get a chance at the club? I personally think, I know he hasn't played much games for Charlton. I think he's played 6 games since he's signed on loan. But Des, what's your opinion of Harry Arter? Because everyone's talking about he's not good enough, blah, blah, blah. But Steve Cooper has come to Nottingham Forest. He's changed nearly everyone's the way they are. But do you think he could change Harry Arter?
The honest answer is I don't know. Harry Arter's probably only played 6 games at Charlton for a reason. Because we signed him at the wrong time. It was a player we all admired for a long time. And has seemed to be the way until Dave Murphy came in. Our chief executive. We were signing players who were has-beens. Players that on paper you get excited about. If you ever want to see someone excited about a signing, check out Dore's video when Harry Arter signed. he was jumping through hoops.
I was jumping for joy when he signed for Nottingham Forest. But that's what we need, didn't we, Des? That's the kind of player that we needed at Forest that time.
We needed a good goal-scoring midfielder, and he come with that reputation. He scored an absolute belter for Fulham. He's a player I admired a lot. I watched him from when he was really young. He started at Charlton, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, he started at Charlton. Yeah, so, then he went to Bournemouth.
Yeah, I watched him a lot, and someone I admired. I watched him play for Ireland as well. Quite a lot, and he was just somebody who this could be the missing piece. That type of player.
Yeah.
After the season we'd had under Lamucci, almost felt like the player to take us to that next level. It didn't work, did it? It simply, when you think of these signings, and this is why I've been reluctant to go for these players that have done it at the top level sometimes when it comes to anywhere other than centre-back, because you never know what you're getting. You never know whether they're on the way down. And generally, attacking players fall very quickly. Defenders have got a bit of longevity about them. They made us doing stuff. And his career just dipped. But having said all that, like you said, Dore, we've seen what Cooper's done with certain players. There's players who fans have been split 50-50 with, players who 90% have been against. And all of a sudden, 90% are for, 100% are with them. So it's that age-old thing, isn't it, where a new manager comes in. I know he's not brand new now, but Harry Arter back at Forest is a new player. And whatever I'm reading the comments, and we all know there's accusations of a bad attitude, and he's done this, and he's upset the apple cart here and there. But at the end of the day, that's for the manager to manage as well, isn't it? There's been bigger turnarounds in football than Harry Arter coming back and having a few good games at Forest. You know, and it's a position I wouldn't say we struggle with, because we've got Zinchenko, we've got Mr. Carvalho. You know, the
Carvalho
players who can fit in there, but it's a position where we lack consistency. You know, we lack real consistency in that role, sort of attacking midfield, you know, playing off the front two, whichever way you want to look at it, you know, sort of. And it could just work, you know. Every so often in football, somebody makes the way back onto a bench, you know, comes on for 5 minutes, scores a goal, and it turns like that, you know. And it could just be that one with Arthur. He's not that old, you know. I think
about 32, and about 32.
32. He was always a player with a good engine, you know. Got about the pitch.
That goal he scored past. I think he was at what game was he? Fulham, and he scored that fantastic goal. Under the Murchie ball.
He's one of them players you tend to watch. I tend to watch him when he was at Bournemouth, and he seemed to score every week. But then you look, and he scored about 6. You know, but they're probably 6 real big important goals. You know, and again with that number 10 position, or somebody playing attacking midfield, you know, depending on the formation. That's what you want, isn't it? You want someone to chip in with 6 goals, 6 really, really important goals as well. So I wouldn't say it's completely over for him. It doesn't look likely, in all honesty, does it? You know, no. And again, Cooper's got to decide, and I'm not sure how long is left on Archer's contract. I think he got a big one, didn't he?
Yeah, he got a big contract.
So they might be looking to offload for wages and things like that, but who knows? You know, that's you just got to when it comes to players coming back off loan, and a different manager's been there since the last one where it really didn't work. You've just kind of got to keep an open mind, haven't you? Forget about all the agendas. You know, we can read Twitter all day, and Harry Hart has told Dan Gosling not to sign for Forest, and he's done this in training, and he's done that. You know, we don't know that in reality. You know, you might pick up on the odd thing. So he's just got to come back. The one thing Hart has got to do, wherever he's playing, because it seems it hasn't happened at Charlton, he's got to be professional, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's got to be professional.
This is a question, and this might be good for you, Craig, because this is from Gary. Shout out to Gary, who goes to every Forest away game. Why do you think Harry Hunter hasn't recreated his Bouenrmouth form at Forest or Charlton?
I think Harry's struggled for some time now, and it's a real shame because he signed from Woking. He was at Charlton initially, was released, went to Woking. We picked him up from there for a nominal fee, and he helped lead this club through the leagues, a bit like Steve Cook has done. He had a lot of tragedy when he was at Bournemouth. A lot that was spoken about in the press, and I think he really struggled. I think he wanted a fresh change. He wanted a new start, and to be honest, nobody could begrudge him that. I think his performances dipped a little bit. I think he needed that move. So he did a couple of loan moves, and then eventually got his opportunity at Forest. And I think what you've got in Arthur is somebody who does always give 110%. He's not the most talented player in the world. We know that.
But he can do the donkey work. That's what I think. That he can do. The donkey work.
Yeah, he can do. You know, he does put in rash challenges every now and again. He is a bit of a yellow card, red card waiting to happen sometimes. But he does do, like you say, the donkey work. And it's a shame that he hasn't recreated that form. Does he need a special kind of manager like Eddie Howe to actually get that out of him? I don't know. Does it really matter about who he's alongside in the squad? Again, it's one of those where I think, because he was alongside most of the time the likes of Junior Stanislas, Andrew Sermon, Dan Gosling, so Mark Pugh as well. Who can forget Pewey?
Yeah,
so
Pewey.
Those players knew each other inside out, and I think that was what was great about Arthur, is he really had the link up with them. And again, it goes back to that old saying, that together anything is possible. And that's what Eddie Howe brought into the squad, was that togetherness. And I think Harry really excelled being part of that team. Since he's left, I don't think maybe he's not linked up as well with other players at other clubs. Because you think
I think that's it. As Des mentioned, he come the wrong time to Forest, the wrong time, and that was a problem, because like I said, when we signed him, I was excited. I was so excited, and I remember, what game was it? I don't know if Des remembers it. Remember the Huddersfield game? He come on, and his the way his mood is like, what's going on here? I don't know what formation we're playing. Blah blah blah. I'm looking, and it was strange for him. And since, like I said, Des mentioned, like what happened at Forest, it's all hearsay, we could say. And I personally think like he's gone to Charlton. He's not played much game time there as well. But if Steve Cooper can get the best out of Harry Arthur, let's make it the big if, it could happen. Like I think the experience we need. We've got Cole back in that midfield with Yates, and even like with Cook and Harry Arthur, because they couldn't come off the bench to help out Forest. But I think it's a massive boost. What do you think, Des? Like, do you think? I don't know. We've got so many centre midfielders. Like we've got Ojeda, Cafu. Like,
that's going to be really hard for him, isn't it?
That's a problem, mate. That's a problem.
No, I do see it unlikely, and the only reason we're really talking about him is because of the obvious link with Bournemouth, and you've got a Bournemouth fan. If it wasn't for Steve Cook and this, we'd all be kind of.
Do you think Steve Cook? Do you think Steve Cook played a part in this or not? Because them two know each other from Bournemouth.
No, not really. They probably do know each other, but at the end of the day, he's gone to Charlton, hasn't he? It's January. He's not played very many games. He's probably going to be costing them part of his wage, as well. So if they're looking, and I think it was Glenn's comment who said he's not performed under two managers at Charlton, and that says a lot, doesn't it? I see it, I see it really unlikely that he's going to even feature. But again, you can never rule anything out in football. This is why we love it. Things happen, and last season everybody was having a go at Jack Colback and saying he was too old and his legs are gone and he couldn't perform.
That was me. I put my hands up for that. That was me. I put my hands up and he apologised.
But the season before that, it was Ben Watson, and then he had an absolute stormer. It happens. Players coming back into form, they work in certain systems with certain managers. And we all know when Harry Arthur signed for Forest, the club was at bottom really. Despite sort of finishing 7th, we saw the confidence evaporate out of the club. We saw a manager come in and take over that was no different to the previous manager in terms of the negative football. It was worse. So when you're talking about someone who potentially could get forward and contribute to attacking football and things like that, and score long ranges and that kind of thing, he didn't have a chance, did he? Yes, you mentioned the Huddersfield game where his demeanour was shocking.
Yeah, it was. I couldn't believe it.
It was absolutely shocking, and it didn't get him off on the right foot either, did it? And sometimes, like Steve Cooper, coming in and just getting off on the right foot. I'm going to touch on it, but there's a guy in here who gives me stick about Warnock and saying Warnock should be the Forest manager. I never actually said that. What I said was we need somebody to come in and grab a few players by the scruff of the neck, and that's exactly what Cooper's done. And again, if it's taken that with certain players, perhaps Harry Arthur coming back, if he thinks he's going to come back and walk around the training ground, I think Cooper's going to be the first one. The only two players I've ever heard Cooper sort of pick out in an interview has been Joe Worrell for showboating and Zinkernagel. Zinkernagel frustrates him. Probably two of the most talented players at the club. So he doesn't suffer fools. So whatever happens with Ariata, it appears that Cooper's not going to suffer any fools, anyone coming, because he's told us all already. He's told every player that the club's bigger than them. When he says for too long, the players have been thinking they're bigger than the club. Perhaps Ariata came in a little bit like that, but he'll quickly get a reminder that he's playing for a big club at the end of the day. And if he doesn't perform, they'll do the best to get rid of him, like they are doing with other players.
I think there's a question for you, Craig. Tried a great insight tonight from Craig. I truly believe we have a lineup back three of Spence, Worrell, Cook, Kenan Lowe. Then they're one of the best twins in the league. That's what everyone on Twitter has been saying. That's the best three. And we'll say last note before we go. Do you think, I know like Cook is 30 years old, but do you think like a 2.5 year contract? Do you think he can really do well for Forest?
Do you know what? I'm worried that it's going to come back to bite us in the backside.
I hope he does. That's what we want.
I'm worried it will.
Why though? Do you think he still could have a chance at Bournemouth? I know Bournemouth are flying, but do you think he still could have a bit part with it with his experience as well? Going to a rival. We are rivals.
Yeah. Personally, I think that he should have got his chance at Bournemouth. Personally, I think once he was back from injury, he is our best central defender. I think that's what he was. That's why it's so disappointing to see him go. He's a player that will give 110%, and that's why I wouldn't be surprised, when we have the game down here, that he's back throwing his body on the line, stopping those balls.
February, the games of February.
Yep.
Thank you, Gary. I'll be there. And Gary will be there as well. What about you, Des? Are you going, Des? What about you, Des? Des will be there as well.
Yeah.
There we are.
We'll be there as well.
We ain't
got Hooters here though, Mr. Dore.
Wait.
I had to mention it, didn't I?
Before we do, right, Craig owes me Hooters because we had the deal last season. He said he'll take me Hooters, and he didn't take me Hooters. So, Craig, are you going to the game in February?
Yeah, should be.
You could. If there's any chicken shops around your place, you can take me, and you're paying. That was agreement.
There we go.
There we go. We've got the deal here, people.
Well, they're saying that if you come up with us, which now you've got a chance, now you've got Cookie, go to Hooters anyway next year, so everyone's a winner. Yeah,
everyone's a winner. But yeah, I said the deal was if no one's on last stream, Craig said he would take me Hooters, so that's the deal. So yeah,
I might just come up. To a Forest game just to go to Hooters.
You can do that.
There you go.
Sorry, Des.
Yeah.
So I'm just going back to Cook, and is there a situation here? Can you remember Colin Cooper at Forest when we got promoted? And he'd been an absolute legend. He'd scored lots of goals. He played lots of games. He played for 3-4 seasons, and then Dave Bassett didn't really fancy him. It just really reminds me of that situation, and I do wonder. I don't know. I just wonder what Craig thinks on the matter. Is Scott Parker there trying to stamp his authority a little bit, and obviously Cook's a player that's been around a long, long time, and we seen it when David Platt came into Forest. He got rid of Mark Crossley, he got rid of Ian Woan and Steve Chettle, players that had played 400-500 games apiece. And I just wonder if there's a little bit of that in Scott Parker's thinking. He's going for an untried player in the Man U player. That's not necessarily going to work. I just wonder what you think about that one.
I think he's going for a younger team. But I say that, but we've still got Adam Smith on the books. So that kind of disproves that one. I just don't think he's favoured him from day one. And I think it was unfortunate when Scott Parker come in, Steve Cook was injured. And I just don't know why, he's been able to. Steve Cook, during the interview was very, very coy on that subject. Scott Parker said that he was a model professional. So they've got respect in that way. But did he ever fancy him from the day one? Did he think, well, he's somebody who could help this club go places? Scott Parker got a plan, of a 3 or 4 year plan in mind, and thinks, well, Steve Cook, if we get back in the Premier League, will he be a name that I can put on the team sheet? Don't know. Whereas these youngsters, he might want to make a signing of his own if we get there, and those youngsters would be easier to replace. But then again, we've signed Gary Cahill.
You know what?
So this is the weird thing.
I've just mentioned Cahill, and Cahill's about 34, 33, 34.
35.
Yeah, and I don't get it. That's why I don't understand why Steve Cook was told to go. But you've got someone of Cahill. Now, Cahill, don't get me wrong, he's a good player. But come on, that's what I just get my confused. But I'm not complaining. I like it. Now he's a Forest player. That's very good. But I don't get it.
I think Cahill and Cook would have been brilliant together. In that centre of defence. We didn't see it often enough. I think it only happened in one game, and I think that was the Fulham game, if I'm right in thinking. So it goes to show Cookie come in when Cahill was injured. That was what actually started it. So Cahill got injured by Benicophobe, another former Cherries player, in the game up at Millwall. And Cookie got his chance, and he took his chance. He took it. I just don't think he was fancied from day one. And I think if Cook and Cahill were playing together in defence, it might have been a slower back central defensive partnership. Probably one of the slowest in the league. But at the same time, they're two players that know exactly where, everybody else is. And they'd be hard to break down.
Okay. Right. We get going now because we've had nearly an hour on the show. But people, like I said, thank you very much for the 94 people that have come and watched about the Craig spoke loads about Steve Cook and as well the man himself, Do Daily. Make sure everyone please go and subscribe to both their channels. The link is below. Do Daily as well. Link is below. And as well, we mentioned Craig. He interviewed Steve Cook as well. Before was it last season or before the season started?
No, it was in November. It was in November, so it was very recent.
Okay.
Very, very recent. In fact, what was quite funny about that interview was Cook hadn't played for us all season apart from a 6-0 drubbing at Norwich in the Cup. After that interview, he then played 3 on the bounce. And, there was some talk, because of the interview, as it sparked interest, as he, said all the right things, which, he did during that interview. It was really, really positive, really good. At that point, I did think, well, he's there to fight for his place. And it sounded like he was going to stay. And after that Fulham performance, I thought that was what was going to happen. But, I think during that interview, there was points as well where he made a hint that he wasn't going to be here. And it's a crying shame because he's done such a good job. He is a legend. He fully deserves his testimonial. I'd even encourage that testimonial to be against Forest because I think it would be great to see, some former Bournemouth players get Fletch out there.
We've got Lewis Grubbin, played for Bournemouth as well, didn't he?
Exactly, yep. Get some of the old Forest players out there as well, which will be good. That would be a great testimonial for him. But it's a shame. But I think he'll do great up there. And I just hope it doesn't bite us in the backside.
I hope it does.
I've got a feeling, though, it might do. That's what I'm worried.
A Steve Cook 89th minute winner at your ground, sliding in front of your fans. That'd be lovely, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it, Des? That'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
Ivan header, last minute.
right, people. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, Des. Thank you, Craig, for being on the channel. The link,
Pleasure as always.
Des' channel is linked below. Craig's channel is linked below, and Craig's interview Steve Cook as well. They're all linked below. So make sure you go and subscribe, watch them as well. And as well, people, I think I'm 4 away from 5,400. So if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do hit the like button, subscribe as well. And like I said, I'll be back for the as well. Who have we got next, Des?
Millwall, Arsenal, Millwall.
We've got Arsenal next. So people, I've got a special guest on Friday. I'm not going to tell you who it is.
I wonder who that is.
I'm not going to say who it is. I'm not going to say who it is. It's a special. I will put it on my links on my socials. So if you do want to follow my socials, it's one of my best YouTubers. One of my best YouTubers I've done. So as well, but that'll be out Friday. I'm doing 2 specials, one Friday, one Saturday. So watch out for that. But yeah, we've got Arsenal next. It's going to be a fantastic one as well. But like I said, Craig, thank you much for coming on.
Pleasure as always, Mr. Dore.
Yeah, and as well, people, get Mr. Des to 200.
I've had 1 during this episode. I've had 1.
People,
9 to go. Single figures.
People, go link now. Let's say people, go and link to it and subscribe. Just subscribe to his channel. It's a good channel. It's about mental health. Like we've had this time with this pandemic as well, and then Des is just he does it fantastic. So people, just go down, subscribe.
Relatable stuff. Don't be scared by mental health. It's really relatable. It's me chirping away about life.
Life as well. So people, go down and subscribe to do. Yeah. Right, people. I'll see you Friday. Make sure you watch it. It's going to be an unbelievable one. I'm going to be proud of this one. But yeah, people, peace and love, and I'll see you Friday. Oh yeah,
Stevie Cook, Smelly White Army.
Yeah.
Right, peace and love, people, up the forest.